peace. Um, this is the next video that I wanted to discuss with you regarding. I'm going to, instead of going through all the Quran only things, I want to do a special video which is actually going to be about the recent troubles in Syria and Iraq with regarding Islamic State, the so-called Islamic State, and discuss about them and about the Western response and Western uh, influences, and also talk about the problems associated with um, militant, so-called militant Islam. It's not Islam at all, because militant and Islam, it doesn't mix. It's a contradiction, because militant is about fighting and killing people and being military, and Islam is peace. They doesn't go together. Exactly the same as this word Islamophobia. It's not it's a problem, because Islam means peace. If you're Islamophobic, you're afraid of peace. It's unless you're a militant, then you're militant. This is what this possibly means. Anyway, the issue that we have with these so-called Islamic states, the killing of innocent people, the murdering of people who don't believe what you believe, and all of these things. This is nothing to do with Islam, and it's worrying, or it's a problem that a lot of Muslims, they are either ignoring it, or they condemn it, but they still follow some of the teachings that result in this behavior, or they don't say what they should say, and they should condemn it completely. The other issue is that this is not just Islam. This is not just Islam, which is Hadith Islam or their teachings, because beforehand they lived quite peacefully. They didn't do this on the streets of Europe and things like that, killing a journalist or killing cartoonists or whatever like that, Charlie Hebdo and things like that. So they didn't do these things, but there have been some wars waged against so-called Muslim countries, I would say Sunni and Shia countries, and in doing that, the West has inadvertently opened a a box which is full of nasty stuff, and it's coming out, in their own countries, and there are ways to deal with this, and maybe I can discuss with you some of those ways. But we need to firstly condemn. I am a Muslim. This Quran, which I follow, it condemns violence against people. In fact, it has the highest esteem for human life. It says that the one life is equivalent to the whole of humanity. If you kill an innocent person, it's equivalent to killing to all people. And if you save a person, it's equivalent of saving all people. So it has a very high esteem for life. The only instance where you can fight somebody, where you can fight and kill somebody, is in self-defense. If someone is trying to kill you, then you can fight and kill them. And that is to protect your freedom. So in the respect of going to war when someone has attacked you and you are defending yourself, then it's absolutely correct. And the United Nations treaty understands this. It's a modern, or it's not modern. It's from God. Really said this 1,400 years ago in the Quran. But now we have this. We come to this understanding. Therefore, war is very conditioned, and regardless of what people think, they often twist. They take the Quran's verses, they twist them, and it's not just Westerners or other people like who do this, it is also the Muslims themselves. They take the Quran's verses, they twist them, they twist the words. One of the words is raqaba, which is means to watch or observe, but they translate it as neck, so they can decapitate people, cut people's heads off, and things like that. It's wrong, and they have a misunderstanding of it. It's not just a mistranslation; it's a misunderstanding. Because a translation is to translate from one to go from one language to another, but they misunderstand even the Arabic. They don't understand it. They don't look elsewhere in the Quran and see where that word is used. God is not neck. God is the raqab, the watcher, the observer of us, of everything. So they misunderstand that. And actually, brother Adib Yüksel, he does a very good video regarding that, which if I can, I'll post the address to, so you can go and look at that. It's very, very interesting. Now we are in a circumstance now where we can change. We have the ability, some ability, to move on from this, to improve relations across the world. Both Muslims need to do it, and also with the so-called Muslim world, and also the Western world need to do it too. We cannot, as a Western country, I live in the UK, we cannot, as a Western country, United States, the West, other Western countries, we cannot support Israel completely. We cannot support if they oppress Palestinian people, and when they go to war they kill and massacre hundreds of children. We cannot support that. We have to condemn it, because it is just the same. Even though they call it collateral damage, but in reality they are killing innocent people and children, and bombing hospitals and things like that. And we cannot allow that to happen. That violence breeds violence. But at the same time, we have to understand that these people who claim, like some Jihadi John and all these other people, they are not Muslim. Then whether they say it or not, they are not Muslim. They think they are Muslim. They think they are, but they are not. The Quran condemns their actions and calls them disbelievers, calls them people who reject God, who associate partners to God, and calls them criminals, because they are criminals. They are criminal people. They do not value life like the Quran says. They do not fight for justice like the Quran says. And they are psychopaths. They are insane. And it's exactly like the Ku Klux Klan. They are psychopaths. They are arrogant people. They think that their life is better, worth more than another person's life. And that's not true. Nobody's life is more valuable than another person's life. Now, in this life, God has given us free will. God will not interfere with our decisions. God has given us the ability. Our free will is managed in a certain way, in that God's will, we have choices, and those choices are like, this or that, and we can choose freely, but the actual choice leads down a path. So then the path is decided. You choose this path, you'll go down that way. You choose the right path, you'll go down the right path. So God has chosen God has restricted our the paths that we can go down. However, God has given us free will to choose one or the other. Now, therefore, anybody in this life can reject God, and they are free to do so. They are free to associate others to God. It's not a problem in this life. They should have freedom of choice. But in the next life, then God would choose. Not God would judge them, and God would choose. God did not wrong them. They chose. They wronged themselves. They wronged themselves by doing these things. God gave them the free will. They wronged themselves. Now, but it's not for us to make a decision, because we don't know. I don't know what you believe. Even if you tell me, you may believe something else. Exactly the same. So we can't do that. It's not our. We can say what beliefs are wrong and what beliefs are right according to the Quran, according to God's word, but we can't enforce any belief on anyone. It's not right. Now, the Quran has. I'm going to read a few verses so that we can see, um, where do we categorize these people who are killing, beheading people, burning people, um, uh, putting women into black sacks and taking away all their freedoms, and causing all sorts of injustices, and killing people for not believing in what they believe, or apostasy and things like that. What the Quran describes these people as, and then we can see that these people are not Muslims. But we, and even people who are Sunni and Shia, they have to, because they are not all like that. Some of them actually even though they claim to follow Hadith and Sunnah, they don't really follow to the extent that these people follow. The Quran condemns all of those actions, but a lot of people, they follow it. They don't follow those things because they know back in their mind, they think this is not right, but they stay away from those things. But anyway, okay, so this is from Surah Surah 2, and I'll start at verse 8. Okay, among the people are those who say, "We acknowledge God and the last day," but they do not acknowledge. They seek to deceive God and those who acknowledge, but they only deceive themselves without noticing. In their hearts is a disease. So God increases their disease, and they will have a painful retribution for what they have denied. If they are told, this is crucial here, do not make evil in the land, they say, but we are the reformers. In other words, we are good people. That's what they say. We are the do-gooders. We're the reformers. No, they are the evildoers, but they do not perceive. If they are told, acknowledge as the people have acknowledged, they say, shall we acknowledge as the fools have acknowledged? No, they are fools, but they do not know. Okay? Now, this is really, really crucial, these verses, and it goes on a little bit as well. Because basically, these people, they think they are doing right. They think that they are righteous people. They don't think that they are doing anything wrong. They think they are adhering to what they think is God's law, but it's not, because they don't read the Quran properly, don't understand it. And a lot of the time, it's not actually their fault fully. Yes, they have chosen this path, but a lot of the times they have been influenced by somebody else, or they have had some influence, something happened to them. Think about it like this. 10 years ago, 2003, the United States invaded Iraq. Okay? Now, we heard some stories in that time. It doesn't matter about the context of the war or the pretext at which they went to war, because they didn't find any of the weapons they thought they were going to find. But that doesn't matter. They invaded a country. Now, if you saw, you were a child, let's just say you were 8 or 10 at the time, okay? You saw your parents die, be killed in front of you, murdered, shot down. There are instances of people driving in their cars to checkpoints, and there were guns, and they just killed all the people in the car, and sometimes the odd person survived, the kid survived. Okay. Now, fast forward 10 years. Imagine the effect on that person that this would have. That person would not be thinking in the same way that somebody who hadn't gone through that would be thinking. I'm not making an excuse for them. That person is messed up. In this country, that person might be doing drugs or something. They will be in rehabilitation. In those countries, they don't have that. They don't have rehabilitation. That person is expected to get on with their life. And they might have an orphanage. They might end up moving from there. So when somebody comes along to them and says to them in a sick and twisted way they are, convinces that person who's young, who's got a young mind, well, we can go and we can take revenge against the people who did this. That's what they think. They think that that is acceptable. They think that that's good. And they go ahead and do it. and they don't listen, they don't think rationally or logically about it. They think that, oh, I'm going to do it, and who cares about the outcome? Now, that's not to make an excuse for them. They have minds. They should be able to not think, not respond in that way. Just as if you are in this country or any country in the world and your parents were killed or died, you shouldn't automatically become a nobody or shouldn't automatically become a dropout, or you should have the choice, the ability to get on with your life. But sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes people turn to crime, and these people are criminals. In a way, they're criminals, but they think they're doing good. Okay? So that's the way that sometimes we've got to look at it. Now I'm going to just stop here because I want to do another video just in case this deletes my video and I want to lose all this information. So inshallah, I'll speak to you